Hello guys, let's talk about Sid Vicious. I'm gonna read the Wikipedia article about him. I might turn this into like a series where I read Wikipedia articles about various people I'm interested in, probably mostly artists and musicians, musical artists, that sort of thing. Bands, just stuff like that. So here's Sid Vicious. Simon John Ritchie, born May the 10th, 1957, died February the 2nd, 1979. Better known by his stage name Sid Vicious, was an English musician best known as the bassist for the punk rock band Sex Pistols. Despite dying in 1979 at age 21, he remains an icon of the punk subculture. One of his friends noted that he embodied everything in punk that was dark, decadent, and nihilistic. Early life. John Simon Ritchie was born on the 10th of May, 1957 in Lewisham. Now, the thing about British names, like British location names, is that they're never pronounced the way they're spelt. So if Lewisham is actually pronounced like Lewisham or whatever the fuck, then forgive me, British people. I'm only human, unlike you, British people. If you can, the people part is in quotes. Yeah, take that, Brits. You freaks. Why don't you go to a dentist, you crooked-toothed swine, sipping your tea and being gross. Yeah, I said what I said. Ha ha ha. I'm just kidding. I love you. I love you. I love you. Please don't kill me. Please don't scald me with your tea. Anyway, back to the fucking article. He was born in Lewisham to John and Anne Ritchie nee MacDonald, 1933 to 1996. Anne had dropped out of school and joined the British Army, where she met Ritchie's father, a guardsman at Buckingham Palace and a semi-professional trombone player on the London jazz scene. Sorry, I was burping. It was quiet, you couldn't hear it. Wait, I think there's more. Damn it. Do you ever have like a burp that gets caught in your throat and you can't burp it up but you want to and it's unsatisfying and uncomfortable? It's like that. Anyway, yeah, no, it's gross. Whatever, I don't care. Shortly after Ritchie's birth, he and his mother moved to Ibiza, where they expected to be joined by his father, who did not appear and provided no financial support. By the way, I've actually read this article before. In fact, I've read I've read Sid Vicious's article, I've read Johnny Rotten's article, and many of the articles I might hypothetically read for this channel are ones I've already read before, so just so you know. Fun fact. Anyway, sorry for interrupting so much. Did not appear and provided no financial support, and reportedly sold marijuana to get by. With the help of the British Embassy, I think that's how that's pronounced, in Spain, Anne returned to England and settled in Tunbridge Wells, I think that's how you say it, Kent, where she enrolled her son as John in Sandown Court School, now the Skinner's Kent Academy. In 1965, Anne married Christopher Beverley, who died 6 months later of kidney failure. Anne and John lived briefly in Bristol and Clevedon, Somerset. In 1971, the pair moved to Stoke Newington in Hackney, East London, where John attended Clissold Park School, now Stoke Newington School. At this time, he began using the name John Beverley. By 1973... Oh my god, that was Sid Barrett. How did that happen? Sorry. Yeah. Hi, Sid. Second Sid. Original Sid, better Sid, superior Sid. Sorry, guys. Sid Barrett will always come before everything. He's God. Anyway, by 1973, Anne's life was consumed by her addiction to heroin and opiates, to the point where she was unaware that her son was attending Westminster Kingsway College, then known as Kingsway College of Further Education, and as a community and vocational school for students with difficulties. While at Kingsway, what does it mean, students with difficulties? Like learning difficulties? I didn't know. I don't know. While at Kingsway, which he was likely attending to complete his O-levels, John indicated to a counselor that he was contemplating suicide. There were also claims that he was torturing and killing cats. Yeah, that's always fucked with my head. Like, it's kind of hard to be a Sid Vicious fan when he possibly tortured and killed cats and also possibly murdered his girlfriend. And it's frustrating that you never know exactly what happened. Like, it's very much ambiguous, but just the fact that he possibly did makes it really hard to be a Sid Vicious fan when you know that he could have totally been a terrible person, you know? And I mean, even if he didn't do that stuff, he was an asshole. Like, let's be real, the Sex Pistols were assholes. And if you disagree, then fuck off. Like, I mean, I still am definitely a fan of them as artists and even as people. Like, they were really cool in some ways, but they weren't in others. And like, John Lydon literally grew up to be he's a Trump supporter now. It sucks. And he's also totally like a Queen apologist, even though she's dead now, but he loved the Queen and defended her and shit, and he's like, she's only a person, blah blah blah, when he literally said, she ain't no human being. That's my John Lydon impression, Johnny Rotten impression. I often say his name as John Lydon because that's what my dad calls him, but I never call Sid Vicious by his real name. Isn't that weird? Anyway, when John turned 16 that year, Anne kicked him out of her home. Poor guy. I will admit, they all had pretty tough lives, especially Sid. And, one of them got sexually assaulted as a boy. I forget which one it was, but he ended up being kind of a sex addict later in life as a result. That can happen sometimes when people get sexually assaulted because they feel like their only worth comes from their sex appeal, so they become addicted to sex and being hypersexual and stuff like that. It's pretty sad. Anyway, in 1973, Beverly met fellow Kingsway student John Lydon, who introduced him to his friends John Gray and John Wardle. All four became known locally as the Four Johns, all four who became locally known as the Four Johns quit school and began squatting in various dismal locations. Three of the Four Johns would then take nicknames. Lydon nicknamed Beverly Sid Vicious, after Beverly was bitten by Lydon's hamster Sid, named after Syd Barrett. Lydon's bandmate, guitarist Steve Jones, I'm pretty sure it was Steve Jones who had the sex addiction, but I could be wrong, gave him the name Johnny Rotten, and Sid nicknamed Wardle Jaw Wobble. That's a pretty great name, isn't it? Jaw Wobble. The four young men started hanging out around the King's Road in Chelsea, London, which at the time was the epicenter of swinging London. Swinging London. I love swinging London. When music and fashion were burgeoning. A favorite spot was Malcolm McLaren and Vivienne Westwood's clothing store, Sex. There, Vicious met American expatriate Chrissy Hind before she formed her group, The Pretenders, who reportedly failed to convince Vicious to join her in a sham marriage so she could get a work permit. According to Lydon, sorry, I'm recovering from a cold. According to Lydon, he and Vicious took up busking, with Lydon singing and occasionally playing the violin. That's so cool. I forgot that was a thing, that John Lydon could play violin. That's so cute. Isn't that cute? and Vicious playing a tambourine or an acoustic guitar. Oh, you fucking hippie with your tambourines and your acoustic guitars. You fucking hippie, you long-haired, no job having son of a bitch, you dirty, filthy, stinking hippie. Anyway, they would play Alice Cooper covers and people gave them money to stop. That's awesome. That's so punk and hilarious. That's like a joke. That's funny. In 1975, Lydon joined Jones, Glenn Matlock, and Paul Cook in the formation of the band Sex Pistols, managed by McLaren. Vicious was photographed watching the band attack their audience at the Nashville Rooms in Kensington in 1976. I didn't know there was a Nashville in fucking England. Nashville Rooms. What the fuck is that? Oh, pardon me. I must check my phone, for it has gone off. Let this be an intermission. Feel free to, get some popcorn or whatever you want to do. Sha-la-la. I'm talking to my therapist about increasing my medication because, I think it could be a major help. You can just fast forward through this part of the video. Like, I'm probably not going to edit it out, so, just do whatever you want. I could text my therapist back later, but I honestly don't feel like it. I really just want to do it right now. Like, I don't want to keep her waiting. Finally got that burp out. I know, you're definitely interested in that. Like, you definitely want to hear about my burping situation. I know. It's very fascinating. Okay, I'm done now. Sorry about that. Where were we? Yeah, Vicious then began his musical career. Okay. Another burp. Okay. I just got back from a buffet, you know how it is. In 1976, by the way, okay, sorry to interrupt again, but if she does text me back, I'm probably gonna respond again. So, sorry, viewers at home. I don't care. I'm just like the Sex Pistols, I don't give a shit about my audience. I'm such an asshole. I always hated that about the Sex Pistols, the way that they hated their fans. But their fans did throw bottles at them and shit. Then again, were those really fans if they were literally attacking their audiences? Or, I mean, attacking the band and stuff. It always seemed like they were always fighting each other, the band and the audience. Crazy stuff. Punk is a different world, man. I mean, I'm punk, but still, I'm not violent like that. I mean, I used to get into fights, but, you know. Ooh, my friend responded. Sha-la-la. I have this screen zoomed in so much because I knew that I might be responding to messages and I didn't want you guys to see all the messages because they're private, you sons of bitches. You can't learn about my secrets. In 1976, Vicious co-founded as vocalist and saxophone player the Flowers of Romance along with The Clash co-founder The Clash co-founder Keith Levine and Viv Albertine, or Albertine, I don't know. Albertine, maybe? Albertin? I fucking don't know. Who would go on to become the guitarist of the Stilts. Or, no, the Slits. Sorry about that. Ooh, another message. Yippee. Anthony is texting. That's my partner. I guess I am showing their face now. Sorry, Anthony. Ah. Whatever, I don't care if you see my fucking messages. It's about my medications and shit. Honestly, everybody knows I do drugs. Here's the secret. I took more than I was supposed to today, and it made me feel a lot better, and I'm talking to my doctor about increasing my dose so that I can, you know, have a better mood and stuff. Like, I took 3 times my prescribed dose of Vyvanse and Prozac today, and I thought it would be, like, fun or something, but it actually just made me feel really, really calm and awake and focused, and I don't feel crazy at all. I just feel really calm and, very content. My mood is so much better. I don't feel depressed at all. Vyvanse is, an ADHD med, and Prozac is an antidepressant, And yeah, I just feel a lot better. I don't feel crazy or high, and I feel like taking a higher dosage of these meds would probably not make me want to take recreational drugs as much, because I take those too. Like once a week, about that often. So anyway, it's kind of hard to keep it a secret. Like, I'm sometimes high in my videos and shit, and you can probably tell. Anyway, yeah, I'm just like Sid Vicious, aren't I? Drug addict. Anyway, no, I'm not really a drug addict. Like, the drugs I take aren't really addictive. Any fucking way. During this time, he learned to play bass by listening to the Ramones album Ramones, fixating on the up-tempo bump and grind pattern of the song I Don't Want to Go Down to the Basement, a pattern he would apply to most of his playing from then on. In June 1976, Vicious went to a Sex Pistols concert at the 100 Club. Nick Kent, who had played guitar with the Sex Pistols early on and had left music to become an NME music critic and champion of punk rock, and who was Heinz's boyfriend, was also there, and was apparently blocking Vicious's view. Vicious, high on speed, lashed Kent's head with a rusted motorcycle chain which, according to Hind, he carried with him. The incident was reported in the papers, but no charges were laid. See, I told you he's an asshole. Although the songs they wrote would later be performed by other bands, the Flowers of Romance did not perform live or record any music, but Vicious came to the attention of members of The Damned. He was considered, along with Dave Vanian. I love Dave Vanian. He's goth as fuck. He's a goth punk. So sexy. Just like Anthony. Anthony's also a goth punk. He's like goth, punk, scene, and emo. All at the same time. I mentioned that already in a different video. Anyway, for the position of lead singer, but Vicious failed to show up to the audition. Vicious contended that Vanian and his associates had intentionally withheld information about the audition to ensure that Vicious missed it. On the 20th of September 1976, Vicious appeared with Susie and the Banshees, playing drums at their first gig at the 100 Club Punk Special in London's Oxford Street, a 2-day festival co-founded by McLaren. The following day, Vicious went to the Damned's went to the Damned's performance, not first performance, that word wasn't in there. Drunk and high on amphetamines, he hurled his glass at the stage, attempting to strike Vanian. He missed. The glass shattered against a pillar and blinded a woman in one eye. Vicious was arrested and imprisoned at Ashford Remand Center. Raymond Center? Remand? I don't know. Westwood and Albertine, or whatever the fuck, visited Vicious in prison, with Albertine bringing the book Helter Skelter as a gift. Isn't the Helter Skelter? Let's see that. Is that about the Charles Manson and all that? Yep, the true story of the Manson murders. I see. In February 1977... Oh, wait. Sorry. Sex Pistols, 1977 to 1978. I was forgetting to read the titles of these. So there was Early Life, and then there was The Flowers of Romance and Susie Sue and the Banshees, 1976. And now it's Sex Pistols, 1977 to 1978. Okay. In February 1977, McLaren announced that Glenn Matlock had been thrown out of the band because he liked the Beatles and had been replaced by Vicious. In his autobiography, I Was a Teenage Sex Pistol, Matlock says he quit because he was sick of all the bullshit. In the 2000 documentary The Filth and the Fury, the band members agreed that there was tension between Matlock and Rotten, but Matlock says that those tensions were aggravated by McLaren. I wouldn't be fucking surprised. who wanted to generate chaos in the band as a creative mechanism and as a way of building the band's image. He wanted Matlock to leave and to replace him with Vicious, saying, if Johnny Rotten is the voice of punk, then Vicious is the attitude. I feel that, you know? I mean, I think Johnny Rotten has the attitude more. I mean, not more, but just as much. But they're both kind of assholes. Like, I think that they kind of reflect a sort of gross side of punk. And so does fucking Malcolm McLaren, if you can even consider him a punk. I mean, I guess you could. He did start up the you know, he was in the scene, he was doing stuff. He did fucking store sex with Vivienne Westwood and all that. Right? Vivienne Westwood? Let's look it up to make sure. I'm pretty sure, but I always mess up things in my head, or I get concerned that I am. Look at this shit. Look at the way that it fucking... Look at the fact that Yahoo is my search engine, even though I fucking picked Google as my search engine. Like, it's on my settings. Fucking piece of shit. Sha-la-la. Yep. Westwood came to public notice when she made clothes for the boutique that she and Malcolm McLaren ran on Kings Road, which became known as Sex. Yep. Anyway, my therapist texted me back, so let's look into that. Alright, back to reading. Vicious had become the Sex Pistols' uber fan, never missing a concert. He was encouraged to be drunk and disorderly, with Wobble saying, "Sid was offered up as a sacrificial lamb by the people around the pistols. None of them would have gone over the top. He was their kamikaze pilot. They were all too happy to strap him in and send him off." Poor guy. That all ended very badly for poor Sid. As much as I think he was an asshole, I don't think he deserved to die so young and everything. In March 1977, granted, fucking Nancy didn't deserve to die so young either. Can we fucking have a word? Can we just say a word for Nancy? Shout out to Nancy, everybody. Poor girl. Everyone, they treat her like the Yoko Ono of the Sex Pistols, and it's not fair. To be honest, it's not fair how Yoko Ono is treated either. I don't think she ruined the Beatles. I think they ruined themselves. And, I think her music is shit. Like, she's always screaming and making weird noises and stuff. But, she wasn't evil. Hold on, I have to plug in my computer. In March 1977, the Sex Pistols were signed to A&M Records. Oh, my fucking therapist texted me back. Sorry. She's asking me if I feel good or if I feel high, and I certainly just feel good. She's like, "What's the difference between those two feelings?" And I'm like, the difference comes down to how I act and how I perform my responsibilities. Like, feeling good means that I can act normal around people and I can, do what I need to do in the day, and I have plenty of motivation to do it. Whereas being high means I'm more like kind of acting and feeling silly and kind of slacking off and not super able to get done what needs to get done. I think that's a pretty good distinction. That makes sense to me. Um, in March 1977, the Sex Pistols were signed to A&M Records. In celebration, they thrashed the company's offices and then held a private party at the Speakeasy, a club and restaurant frequented by established members of the London music scene. The Sex Pistols members confronted the BBC DJ Bob Harris, who was the presenter of the Old Grey Whistle Test, a television show which featured non-chart music. Blocking Harris behind the bar, broken bottles in hand, they demanded to know when they would be on the show. A bar fight ensued. Sid Vicious jammed a broken bottle into the face of BBC recording engineer George Nicholson. Harris was rescued by the Procol Harum road crew. Is that how you pronounce that? Procol Harum? Procol Harum. Procol Harum. I'm being silly. Who grouped around him and escorted him out of the club, where they found that police had to cordon off the entire block. Again, cordon? That's not a word I'm familiar with. None of the Sex Pistols were arrested, but the next day, A&M dropped them and Capital Radio banned... A&M dropped them, and Capital Radio banned all Sex Pistols music from its stations. Vicious played his first gig with the Sex Pistols on the 3rd of April 1977 at the Screen on the Green. His debut was filmed by John Letts and appeared in Punk Rock Movie. But he could not play well and had no bass experience, so guitarist Steve Jones played bass on the band's debut album Nevermind the Bollocks, Here's the Sex Pistols. Vicious was allowed to play bass on one track, Bodies, but his contribution was later overdubbed by Jones. He also missed most of the band's rehearsals and recording sessions because he was in the hospital with hepatitis, likely caused by intravenous drug use. By this time, Vicious was using heroin, with many believing that his mother was his supplier. Dee Dee Ramone had seen him shooting drugs on more than one occasion, and Rotten's friend John Gray had found Vicious shooting speed while he was still living with his mother. Vicious told him that the drugs were me mum's. Me mum's. You know, it's me mum's. You know, me mother. Me mum. Also in 1977, Vicious met Nancy Spungen, an American groupie living in London, who had a history of psychological problems and was also a heroin addict. Spungen, who had initially set her sights on Rotten and who supported herself by alternately dealing drugs and working as a topless dancer, made herself useful on the King's Road scene by procuring drugs for musicians. She and Vicious became inseparable, which caused problems with the band, whose members did not like her. McLaren admitted to planning to have her abducted and forced onto a plane back to the United States. See, that's not okay. It's not okay to kidnap people. That's bad. It's bad. The two had a strange relationship. Vicious played nursemaid when she was sick and was shy and polite with her mother, who reported watching Nancy cut his meat for him. That's nice. On the other hand, Spungen was known to be verbally abusive and physically aggressive. Vicious may have facilitated Spungen's occasional prostitution and watched. That's kind of fun. I'm not against that if it's consensual. If it's consensual between all parties involved, then that's a little bit fun. Ooh. Tee. I wish I could have watched. Squeak, squeak. I think that Nancy's pretty. Yeah, I'm a scumbag. Sorry. According to Rotten's wife, Nora Forster. Forster. Teehee. Vicious often hit Nancy, and in her last conversation with her mother, Spungen Spungen admitted that beatings which she had previously said were at the hands of strangers actually came from Vicious. They shared an infatuation with knives. Yeah, it sucks that he fucking beat her, man. What an asshole. But also, Sid and Nancy's infatuation with knives kind of caused me to become interested in knives. Like, I watched Sid and Nancy, and I also watched some interviews with them, and it kind of inspired me to get into knives, and now I have a knife collection, and I also cut myself and shit. Not all the time, I'm not addicted to it, but when I'm in a bad mood, I cut myself. You guys have probably seen my cuts on videos and stuff. I don't exactly try to hide them now, I don't really give a shit, because they're just a part of my body, you know? I'm not gonna censor them. I know that it can kind of trigger people sometimes, but, you know, I think it's too much effort to try to hide it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if it triggers anybody. Beginning in July, with Spungen in tow, the band went on a Scandinavian tour, then toured Holland and the UK. On the 28th of October 1977, their only album, Nevermind the Bollocks, Here's the Sex Pistols, was released, and, due in part to notoriety, particularly of the song God Save the Queen, and in spite of sales bans at major retailers, the band debuted at number 1 on the UK album charts and went gold on the 17th of November. It remained a bestseller for nearly a year, spending 48 weeks in the top 75. It is frequently listed as the most influential punk album of all time. On the 24th of December 1977, the Sex Pistols played the Royal Links Pavilion, Cromer. I guess Cromer. It's just a funny word. Funny name. The next day, the band played 2 shows at Ivanhoe's. Ivanhoe's, ha ha. That's funny. Weird name. In Huddersfield, West Yorkshire. Or Yorkshire, whatever the fuck. It was during the National Fire Brigade strike, and the band performed a matinee for the children of firefighters. In 2013, in the 2013 documentary Nevermind the Baubles, Xmas 77, with the Sex Pistols, Lydon claimed that Vicious had to be warned not to be the hardcore, tough rocker bloke in front of the children. That's something that I think a lot about, especially when for some reason, when I'm drifting off to sleep at night, I remember that Sid Vicious had to be warned not to be the quote-unquote hardcore, oh god, that's terrible, hardcore, tough rocker bloke, hardcore, tough rocker bloke. I can't do it. Just pretend you didn't hear that. That was embarrassing. Kill me. Kill me. End my life. Split my throat. LOL. LOL. No, seriously, kill me. Please, Jesus Christ. Like, but it's funny, like, he had to be warned not to be a fucking crazy lunatic in front of kids. What a crazy guy. What a weirdo. The track of Vicious singing the Johnny Thunders song Born to Lose, which appears on Sid Sings, was recorded during this performance, as Vicious stepped in when Lydon left the stage to pose as Father Christmas. That's fun. That's cute. He would have been an awfully skinny Santa. Father Christmas, whatever the fuck, they're the same guy. These were the Sex Pistols' last performances in Britain until the original members reunited for the Filthy Lucre tour in 1996. Is it pronounced Lucre? Lucre? I don't know that word. Is that even a word? You guys just be making up words, you fuckers. You just be making shit up. In January 1978, the Sex Pistols embarked on a 2-week U.S. tour. There was rising tension within the band. Rotten was barely speaking to anyone. Warner Brothers, which organized and staffed the tour, insisted that Vicious clean up his heroin habit, so he was using methadone. Methadone, yeah. He was in a constant state of semi-withdrawal and furious that the band had blocked Spongin from accompanying them on the tour. Poor guy. You know, you can't help but feel bad for him. Maybe he wouldn't have been such an asshole if the world hadn't been so cruel to him. Like, he was kind of... They say... a lot of fans and people who knew him often say that he was kind of doomed from the start. And probably he just didn't have much of a chance in life, you know. His mother was a heroin addict, and his dad died or whatever. Like, his real dad left and never came back, and then his stepdad died and all that shit, you know. And he was poor and all that. McLaren had long been keeping Vicious on rations of $14 US a week, but he still managed to find drugs. To make matters worse, McLaren, ever eager for more chaos and careful that journalists were on scene, booked the band not into the clubs of New York, but into bars in Louisiana, Georgia, Tennessee, and Texas. That is so fucking crazy to me. The fact that they went to the South. Like, I'm from the South. I mean, granted, they didn't go to Alabama, which is where I live. But still, like, they were close to where I live. Had I been there at the time, I almost could have seen a Sex Pistols show. These lunatics were in my neck of the woods. It's like seeing a fish out of water. It's mind-blowing. Like, what the fuck? It's not right, you know? It's like seeing pigs fly. Ah, man, these little limeys hanging out in the Dixieland. Now I have to look up Dixieland. Like, does that just refer to Texas, or does that refer to all parts of the South? Clicky. A kind of jazz with a strong two-beat rhythm and collective improvisation. What the fuck? I thought that it just meant the South. No. Let's go to Google, because fucking you can't rely on Yahoo. Shaw law to the motherfucking law. What is Dixie? Why is my internet being slow? Yes, here we go. Dixie, also known as Dixieland or Dixie's Land, is a nickname for all or part of the southern United States. Thank you, Google. No fucking thanks to Yahoo, fucking bastards. Alright. Back to the article. I'm definitely gonna title this video Sid Vicious article plus commentary, because by golly, there sure are a lot of interruptions. I sure do be making commentary and things of the sort. In San Antonio on the 8th of January, Vicious felt antagonized by an audience member and struck him on the head with his bass. Before the Sex Pistols took the stage of Longhorn Ballroom in Dallas on the 10th of January, Vicious carved the words, gimme a fix into his chest with a razor, later joking that if you try to kill yourself with a razor to the chest, it won't work. Thanks for the advice, Sid Vicious. Don't get alarmed, dear viewers. I don't intend on killing myself. I know. You know, it wouldn't be surprising if I did have plans like that with how crazy and sad I am, but I'm not intending on ending my life anytime soon. Squimble, squimble, lemon pimble. He greeted the audience by calling them cowboy F-slur. I can say faggot. I'm a member of the queer community. Cowboy faggots. That's offensive, of course, but it's also kind of funny. I'm sorry. Guys. I know I'm problematic. It's problematic for me to take a little bit of glee out of that, because he shouldn't have said it, but it's funny. Cowboy faggots. Like, that would definitely piss off some rednecks. Even though the concept of a redneck is kind of a classist stereotype, so maybe I'm just an asshole. Who knows? Who knows? In return, he was struck by a full can of beer to the head. The next night, the 11th of January, he punched a hole in the green room wall of the band's show at Kane's Ballroom in Tulsa. It was... Ooh, someone texted me back! Yeah, she just said, makes sense. I just got a notification. Somebody on r/non-binary said, I wish I could be non-binary. Homie, home slice, dearest slice of home. If you wish that you could be a certain gender, you probably are that gender. Like, there's nothing else to it. They said, I wish I could be non-binary, but I just can't. My parents would kick me out if I was non-binary, and they knew, and so I won't risk being it to be it anywhere. I don't have dysphoria, I wouldn't transition, I would just change my gender label and pronouns, but for some reason it still feels awful that I can't. I feel disgusted by myself, it makes no sense. I'm the kind of person people would look at to confirm their negative stereotypes about trans people. I look like a man, but would claim to be non-binary. My pronouns wouldn't match how I look. I am a weirdo. Everyone would hate me. Bigots would hate me because they're bigots, and most pro-LGBTQ people would hate me because I'd give NBs a bad name, or because they think I'm just pretending. Everything hurts. Why does everything have to be so complicated? Why are most people evil? Nothing makes sense. Everything is awful. My God. I'm gonna tell them some positive shit. I'm like, you can be an NB, even in private, even just online. People will accept you. You can be it even if you're closeted. It doesn't make you any less valid. I'd say they already are non-binary. If they want to be, then they are. There's no such thing as wanting to be a certain gender but not really being it. I don't see it that way. Like, if you want to be one, guess what? That's your sense of self, and it's valid. You literally are what you want to be, if according to, like, gender-wise. Like, they're talking about how they wouldn't be able to socially transition, and that's really sad, but that doesn't mean that they're not valid. Like, if they desire it, then they are it. They just sadly, probably, maybe can't transition safely, I said, you can be an NB even if you're closeted or only out to people you know and trust or people online. I'd say that you already are non-binary, even if you can't socially transition the way you want to or maybe need to. That doesn't make you any less valid. Furthermore, bigots hate all queer folks. There's no getting around that. But I really doubt that fellow queer people would hate you at all. The community is very accepting of people of all types. I say fuck 'em. Do what makes you happy and fuck anybody who tells you otherwise. Yeah, so that's how I feel about that. Alright. Sorry for all the interruptions, man, but we're just here to hang out, you know? I'm sorry if that's pissing anybody off, I honestly am. But, you know, the mood and the tone of my videos is kind of like you're at my house and just hanging out with me, like things are relaxed. You know, things are chill. The next... Oh, wait, I already read that part. Sha-la-la. Sha-la-la. I said sha-la-la. Fucking sha-la-la. Yeah. It was long rumored that at their 14th of January show at the Winterland Ballroom in San Francisco, Vicious did not bother to plug in his bass at all, although video from the show makes it clear when Jones's guitar cuts out during Bodies that Sid was both playing bass and the right notes. Wow. Gasp. Very impressive, that. You know, I always heard that they never plugged in Sid Vicious's bass, like, or at least they usually didn't, like they just didn't let him play during the live shows, and he just wouldn't notice. But maybe I'm wrong. There is also a pre-show soundcheck audio recording where Johnny says to turn Sid down because his bass was too loud. At the end of the show, Johnny Rotten uttered the famous quote, ever got the feeling you've been cheated? Ever got the feeling you've been cheated? Marking the end of the Sex Pistols. Ever got the feeling you've been cheated? I love their voices. I really do. Especially Johnny's. His voice is just so perfect and punk and funny and cute. I think that Johnny Rotten and Sid Vicious are cute, even though they're disgusting and horrible like rats. I love them, but I hate them, you know? I know they would make terrible friends, but I want them to like me. You know what I mean? It's like that. I want them to like me. But they're shit. They're terrible. Anyway, Sid's dead and Johnny is dead to me because he fucking loves Trump, so fuck them both. Well, yeah. I mean, I don't say fuck Sid because he's dead, but just he's out of my grasp. Far, far away. In the void, you know. The abyss. On the 19th of January, Vicious boarded a flight room from San Francisco to New York. By the time the plane landed at JFK Airport, he had slipped into a diazepam? Whatever? Diazepam? I don't fucking know. Diazepam? Methadone and alcohol-induced coma, and was rushed to a hospital in Queens, where, as he told the photographer Roberta Bailey, the doctor told him that if he did not quit drinking, he would be dead in 6 months. That's something that I think about a lot. How scary would that be to hear that from your doctor, you know? If you don't quit drinking, you'll be dead in 6 months. Especially if you're so addicted to drinking, you know? Like, yeah, you're fucked, man. You gotta quit your comfort, your fucking safety blanket, or whatever you want to call it, you know? your fucking thing that makes you feel better, your addiction. You gotta quit that shit, like, or else you'll die. And I know he was kind of pretty suicidal and all, but still, you know, it's bad to die of something like that. Sarah said, no problem. Cool, cool. Sarah's my therapist, just so you know. When he was released, he reunited with Spongin. In April, the two traveled to Paris to film the Sex Pistols mockumentary, The Great Rock and Roll Swindle, where they spent most of their time in their hotel room doing drugs. Director Julian Temple was able to get Vicious to attend production long enough to record 3 songs: Come On Everybody, Something Else, and My Way. When Vicious returned to his hotel, he found that Spongin had retaliated for being left alone by superficially cutting her wrists. That's not okay. That's terrible. You should let your boyfriend leave for a bit, you know, in order to get his job done. That's really abusive to put him through that shit. They were bad for each other. I think that their relationship gets romanticized a lot. And I love Sid and Nancy, the movie. But at the same time, I think that the romanticization of their relationship is problematic because it was a toxic one. They were bad to each other. The couple then traveled to London where, by August... sorry for interrupting, but I think they're a perfect example of straight people not being okay. You know what I mean? Like, are the straights okay is kind of a meme, and, like, I think they're a perfect example of, like, no, the straights are not. Just those poor straights. They hate each other. The couple then traveled to London where, by August, they needed to return to the US but had no money. He bumped into Glenn Matlock, who by this point had founded the band Rich Kids, and suggested that they play a gig together. For this concert, Vicious and Matlock recruited Rich Kids guitarist and singer Steve New, and the Damned's drummer Rat Scabies. What a cool name, Rat Scabies. They called themselves Vicious White Kids and performed once at the Electric Ballroom in Camden Town on the 15th of August 1978. Sid did not play bass in this band. He was the lead singer. Cool. I've heard his singing before. It's fun, you know. He can kind of do a good Johnny Rotten impression. Yeah. I like Sid's voice. I like their voices. They're funny and great. Spongin joined on backing vocals, but Matlock made sure that her microphone was not plugged in for the concert. What a bastard. I really like, Nancy Spongin's voice, too. Like, she's got a mostly New York accent, but with a little bit of Londony zest sprinkled in, and I just think that's beautiful. I love how she sounds. I kind of like Nancy, even though she was kind of an abusive bitch to Sid Vicious. She didn't deserve to die, though. Neither of them deserved to die so young, and it's all very sad. Vicious and Spongin then returned to New York, where they settled into room 100 at Hotel Chelsea, after causing a fire in their first room. Yeah, I was wondering if that scene in Sid and Nancy was based on a true story, where they caused a fire in their room. I was wondering if that really happened. I guess it did. As Mr. and Mrs. John Ritchie. Yeah, that's... Aw, they were like a married couple. They should have gotten married, you know? I mean, maybe not. Marriage is kind of stupid, you know? Kind of a superficial sort of gesture. But it can be good for financial reasons, I guess. But then again, that's kind of gross. But still kind of necessary at the same time. Blah, blah, blah. Spongin acted as his manager, putting together the band of Steve Dior, Jerry Nolan, and Arthur Kane, and booking him into the New York club Max's Kansas City. Spongin sang with him, and they were sometimes joined by Mick Jones and Johnny Thunders. He drew large crowds, though some... Wait, fuck. I just remembered. Did I actually say the title of this? Post-Sex Pistols. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I'm sorry. I'm a little scatterbrained. Oh, Silas, you fucking lunatic. He drew large crowds, although... Oh, wait, am I on the right place? Spungen sang with him, and they were sometimes joined by Mick Jones and Johnny Thunders. He drew large crowds, though some performances were hellish, with the audience booing his attempted imitation of Rotten. I don't think it's so bad. Like, it's not quite as good, but I think it's funny and good. It's sufficient, you know? And Vicious insulting the audience. Examples of this can be heard in the in-between tracks on his live album Sid Sings. These performances were also released in 2002 and again in 2011 as Live at Max's Kansas City, New York, 1978. In the documentary Who Killed Nancy, Dior said that Vicious got good money for those shows, but Spungen often had to call her parents for money. In one of these did he not share his money? Confusing. In one of these conversations, Spungen said that she was having problems with her kidneys. Uh-oh, that's not good. And asked her mother to look into getting her and Sid into a detox program. On the night of the 11th of October, 1978... Sorry, I have to crack my neck. Alright. Yeah, alright, good. On the night of the 11th of October, 1978, Sid and Nancy hosted a party in their hotel room, during which... snot. Sniff, sniff. Ugh. I'm sick. Well, I'm not very sick anymore. I'm just getting over the little cold. During which Vicious took approximately 32 in all tablets and, while numerous people came and went, was comatose for the rest of the night. At about 11 a.m. the next day, hotel staff found Spungen dead on the bathroom floor with a knife wound to her abdomen. Vicious was found wandering the hallway. He first claimed to have killed her, then said he remembered nothing. Two people who had been at the party stated that Nancy was alive at 5 a.m. The murder weapon was identified as a Jaguar K11 hunting knife, which Nancy had purchased for Sid a few days earlier. Vicious was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. He told police that he and Nancy had argued that night, but gave conflicting versions of what happened next, saying, "I stabbed her, but I never meant to kill her." Then saying that he did not remember anything, then that Spungen had fallen onto the knife. I guess that's not too absurd, like, they were both on a lot of drugs. I mean, it didn't say that Nancy was on drugs, but she could have been. So, but like, how could she fall onto a knife that was sticking up? Like, how does that work? You know? That doesn't make much sense, man. Later, the arresting officer, Sergeant Thomas Kilroy of the 3rd Homicide Unit, was quoted as having said, "After an investigation, Vicious admitted killing Miss Spungen during a dispute." Lawyer Michael Berger, I don't know, first dealt with the matter, but McLaren and Ann Beverly were lawyer shopping. They interviewed several high-profile lawyers, including Melvin Belly, Belly, not Beely. I think because it's got 2 L's. Gerald B. Lefcourt and William Kunstler. It's like cunt. Haha. Before settling on F. Lee Bailey. Bailey never appeared in court, but another lawyer from his firm, Jim Merberg, arranged for Vicious to be released on $50,000 bail, with the conditions that he did not leave New York and that he sign in daily at the 3rd Homicide Unit offices and at the Lafayette Street Methadone Center. All legal costs were paid by the Sex Pistols label Virgin Records. Sid Vicious returned to the Chelsea hotel where he was joined by McLaren and his mother. McLaren firmly believed that Sid Vicious was innocent, noting that the knife was left in plain view and that the couple had kept their cash in a drawer. He believed that Spungen caught one of the party guests stealing money and was stabbed by that person. He believed that Spungen caught one of the party guests stealing money and was stabbed by that person. Yeah, see, that information kind of makes me not be so certain that Sid Vicious killed Nancy, but at the same time, McLaren would be motivated to make Vicious seem innocent, to make his image a little bit better. I mean, you know, he wanted Vicious to seem crazy and kind of violent and shit, but I don't think he would want him to seem like a murderer. Like, I think, you know, you'd have to be a pretty crazy kind of person to, like, admire someone who's a murderer. But then again, serial killers have a lot of fans, especially, like, horny fans. You know what I mean? Fucking Charles Manson and Ted Bundy and goddamn, what's the one that's popular on Netflix now? Let me look it up, because I can't remember. I have to remember, it's gonna kill me. Netflix serial killer show, yeah, clicky. Oh, sorry, my mom's talking to me. Yes! Yes! Why? Oh, I'll do it when I'm done. I'm almost done. My mom was talking to me. So what's the video again? Oh, this one. Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer. That's right. I could tell just by looking at the top of the letters. Yeah, there's that bastard. I fucking hate that show. You know, the victims' families are still around, and they have to deal with the fact that their children's killer is like a popular pop culture figure, and like people are dressing up as him for Halloween and being horny for him and stuff. Like, it's disgusting and it really sucks, and Netflix is fucking profiting off of this horrible situation, this horrible event in history. It's disgusting, man. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. Given the number of people who had been through the hotel room on the night of the murder, Bailey had his investigator look into the possibility that a third party was involved in Spungen's death. It's possible. I admit it's possible. Bailey also hired forensic psychiatrist Dr. Stephen Tyke to evaluate Vicious. After their initial conversation, during which Vicious was preoccupied by the, quote, working class in Berlin, and remained fixated on the television, Tyke told Anne Beverly that Sid must not be left alone. Hours later, Beverly called Tyke and said that Sid had slashed his arms with a smashed light bulb. Tyke returned to the hotel and called an ambulance. EMS staff arrived with the police. When Sid saw them, he headed for the window but was blocked by Tyke. He was taken to the Bellevue, I think Bellevue must be how that's pronounced, I don't really know, hospital, and then moved to the New York Presbyterian Westchester Behavioral Health Center. Kind of a tongue twister, that. Presbyterian Westchester Behavioral Health Center. It's kind of hard to say. In White Plains, New York. It also sounds kind of British. Westchester. That's a place in Britain, isn't it? Must be. You know, everything has the word Chester in it. Wester Chesterfield and fucking Squingsington and Squongsington and fucking Squiggly Squumbly. That's how they name their places. He was released on the 26th of November and returned to the Chelsea. At this time, Rotten tried to contact Vicious, but his calls were barred by Beverly and McLaren. On the 28th of November, Vicious was interviewed by the Irish journalist Bernard Clark. He said that Spongen's death was meant to happen, and that Nancy always said she'd die before she was 21. Isn't that sad, man? That's sad. He said that he just wanted to have fun. When asked where he would like to be, he replied, under the ground. Yeah, maybe I could show you guys that video after I get done with this article. Because it's very chilling, I would say, to watch that interview. The look on his face, he's got like this 1,000-yard stare or whatever, like, it's just blank, like nothing but emptiness behind the eyes, and his voice is quiet and solemn. Solemn? Is that the right word? Solemn? Now I have to fucking look it up. La la la. Formal and dignified. No, it's not kind of. Sullen. Meaning. Internet is slow. Why is my internet slow? Bad-tempered and sulky. Gloomy. A sulky or depressed mood. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. I guess that's the right word. Melancholic. But melancholic is kind of too mild. I think it only describes like a mild, dull depression, whereas this was more like deep and... It's deep and it's harsh and painful, you know. He definitely seemed to have remorse for it if he did kill her, you know. Nothing could possibly excuse it, but, you know, he seemed terribly sad afterwards. In the meantime, McLaren announced that the Sex Pistols would reunite to record a Christmas album to benefit Sid's defense, and sold t-shirts with the slogan, "She's dead, I'm alive, I'm yours." What the fuck, man? Oh my god. I hate that. Everyone involved in the Sex Pistols' existence were just assholes and lunatics. Vicious had started seeing women again. Oh wait, assault on Todd Smith. Wait. Okay, death of Nancy Spungen, la la la. Post-Sex Pistols. Yeah, I'm making sure that I'm reading all the titles because I don't want to not read the titles. So, death of Nancy Spungen and then assault on Todd Smith. Vicious had started seeing women again and was casually involved with rocker Judy Nylon, Dee Dee Ramones' ex-girlfriend. Dee Dee Ramones' ex-girlfriend, Connie Grip, an aspiring actress named Michelle Robinson, and Rotten's ex-girlfriend, Danielle Booth. That's kind of a lot of women. I reckon maybe after his true love died, he just felt like he just needed to fuck as many people as possible to kind of fill the void, because, yeah. I mean, maybe I'm just imagining things, but that kind of sounds reasonable. That sounds like something he might do. Something that he would have to do. On the 5th of December, Vicious went to the Hurrah nightclub with Booth, the photographers David Still and Peter Kodik Gravel, and the comedian Michael Mora, aka Rocket's Red Glare, kind of a cool name, who was Sid's self-appointed bodyguard. Oh, wait. Okay. Vicious went to the Hurrah nightclub with Booth, etc., etc. I left out the word with, and it made me confused about the entire sentence structure. Playing that night was Scafish. Their drum roadie was a woman named Tara. I think that's Tara. Probably not Tara. Or maybe it's Tara. I don't know. Who was the girlfriend of Todd Smith, Patty Smith's brother. Vicious began flirting with Tara. I guess I'm gonna say Tara because it has 2 R's, but Tara is a real name that I know. Like, I've heard that name before, but I've never heard Tara. She rebuffed him and he pinched her. That's mean. I gotta look up what the word rebuffed means. I can't just go on not knowing. Reject someone or something in an abrupt or ungracious manner. Aw, dang. Don't pinch people though, you bastard. Smith told him to back off, and Vicious smashed a beer bottle and jammed it into Smith's face. Smith required 5 stitches. Jesus Christ. Mora told police that Smith provoked Sid, that the bottle broke in Sid's hand and producing glass shards, said that Smith's wound was an accidental result of flying glass. Yeah, I don't believe that. Especially considering his history of attacking and assaulting people. Probably murdering his girlfriend. Fucking violent lunatic, you know. On the 7th of December, Vicious was arrested and charged with assault. The judge agreed that Vicious had broken the terms of his previous bail and sent him to Rikers Island, where he underwent enforced detoxification. While he was in Rikers, Anne Beverly brought Robinson to visit her son. On the 18th of January, Vicious appeared in court, represented by Jim Merberg. That's a funny name. That sounds like a Muppet name. Judge James Leth released Vicious on $10,000 bail and reduced his previous bail conditions, requiring him to report to the homicide unit 3 days a week, and ruled Vicious was not required to appear at a methadone center. Leth applied one condition: that Vicious not frequent nightclubs. Don't you feel like they were kind of fucking easy on Sid? Like, he killed someone, probably. On the morning of the 1st of February, 1979, I mean, he has a history of violence, you know? It's not just a few times, it was like a whole dang series of attacks. After completing his detoxification program, Vicious was released from Rikers Island. When he arrived in Manhattan, and by chance, he met his friend Peter Gravel. Vicious asked Gravel to find him some heroin. Gravel bought $200 worth... Is it Gravel or Gravel? I don't know. Worth of the drug to the apartment of Michelle Robinson. I thought it was Robinson, but it's Robinson. There's no second N. There's just one N at the end. At the 63 Bank Street, where he joined Vicious, Robinson, Beverly, Jerry Only, Eileen Polk, Jerry Nolan, Esther Herskovitz, and Howie Pyro. Howie Pyro is a cool name, man. I wonder if he's a pyromaniac. Gravel said that they sat around doing drugs and he left at 3 a.m. Only said that he and Anne Beverly made dinner and that he, Polk, and Pyro left early when the drug use began. Vicious died in the night of a drug overdose. Robinson and his mother discovered his body the next morning. In the 1996 book Please Kill Me, The Uncensored Oral History of Punk by Legs McNeil and Gillian McCain, Vicious's friend, photographer Eileen Polk, said that no New York funeral home was willing to hold a funeral or burial for Vicious due to his reputation. Damn. I mean, he wouldn't give a shit anyway, you know. Sid Vicious, like, what does he care about formal things like that? I mean... yeah, but his family was probably sad about it, you know. Anne Beverly claimed that Vicious and Spungen had made a suicide pact and that Vicious's death was not accidental. She produced a handwritten note which she had found in the pocket of Vicious's of Sid's leather jacket, reading, "We had a death pact, and I have to keep my half of the bargain. Please bury me next to my baby. Bury me in my leather jacket, jeans, and motorcycle boots. Goodbye." That one really gets to me. I often think about that when I'm in a dark place, like, something about the simplicity of his note. It's kind of beautiful and sad, you know. And I think it's a little bit cute that he wanted to be buried in, like, a punk outfit. Like, that's kind of awesome, you know. Very Sid Vicious, very iconic. It's a little bit vain even in death, you know? It's cute. According to Deborah Spungen, Vicious wrote a letter to her when he was last hospitalized, saying approximately the same thing. "We always knew that we would go to the same place when we died," he wrote. I wonder if he was religious then, if he thought there was an afterlife. Or maybe he meant literally, like, the same area in a graveyard, but probably not. He probably meant, like, heaven or hell. You know. Interesting. Even though, in an interview, he said that they made a song about, like, God and how it was, quote-unquote, an attack, you know? Like, he hates God. But I guess you don't have to love God in order to believe in God. Like me, I had a psychotic episode where I thought there was a God, and a lot of things I thought at the time, but one of them was that I thought God was evil and he created the universe to torture me and stuff, etc., etc. So, there's an example of that very concept. He wrote, we so much wanted to die together in each other's arms. I cry every time I think about that. I promised my baby that I would kill myself if anything ever happened to her, and she promised me the same. This is my final commitment to my love. Spungen was Jewish and is buried in a Jewish cemetery in Pennsylvania. As an interfaith burial was not possible, Sid's body was cremated at Garden State Crematory in New Jersey. According to Polk, Beverly asked Deborah Spungen if she could scatter Vicious's ashes over Nancy's grave, and Spungen said no. Regardless, Polk said that Jerry Only drove Ann Beverly, Ann's sister Renee, I'm not sure, and Howie Pyro to Nancy's gravesite, where Beverly scattered Sid's ashes. Alan G. Parker controversially claimed in 2006 that, before her death of a drug overdose in 1996, Beverly supposedly confessed to him that she intentionally injected her son with a fatal overdose of heroin. However, Parker later admitted on a podcast in 2008 that he had deliberately lied about this story to the producers of a TV show. What a shitty thing to do, man. I just hate that. But maybe he lied about the lying. Maybe he was actually telling the truth, and then he didn't want to make anyone know that, and so he went back on his word. Like, literally, who the fuck knows? This is all shrouded in so much mystery. Like he wanted to say that he lied about it to protect, the fucking lady's death. Beverly. I forget her first name. By the time of Sid's death, he and Nancy were internationally notorious. His death made the front pages of most New York newspapers for days, and Robinson's apartment building was thronged by reporters. Thronged. Funny word. She would soon change her name. The first of many posthumous albums appeared in 1980. Sid Vicious, released by EMA sub-label Innocent Records, has as its jacket image the photo of Vicious's body being removed by 63 Bank Street. Crazy, man. Crazy shit. They just got the dead body right on the thing. They ain't holding back. Fabricated stories about death. In his 2007 book, Pretty Vacant, A History of Punk, director Phil Strongman stated his conviction that it was actor Michael Mora who killed Nancy Spungen, noting that it was Mora who brought the Tuinol to the party, and that Mora knew about the large amounts of cash kept in the bedside table drawer. Mora publicly denied this, but privately confessed it to friends. However, Howie Pyro insisted it was Mora's habit to tell stories for attention. You see? So much mystery. Like, literally, what the fuck? So confusing. So frustrating. Ugh. Mora died in 2001. Strongman also implicated Mora's friend, punk rocker Neon Leon, very cool name as well, I love all these punk names, who lived down the hall from Sid and Nancy, and who was found to be in possession of Sid's belongings, including a leather jacket. Leon said that Vicious had loaned him the jacket the night before and voluntarily gave it to the NYPD. Legacy. Several online sources state that the estate of Sid Vicious continues to earn approximately $400,000 annually in royalties. God damn. These statements are not verified. In Lonely Boy, Jones states that Vicious's estate passed to maternal cousins. In a Rolling Stone article, Green Day frontman Billy Joe Armstrong, I like him. I mean, the way that Green Day have been doing stuff these days kind of sucks. Like, their music, their modernist music is shit, but I don't know, Billy Joe Armstrong's still an interesting guy. And I think he's bisexual. Bicon. Punk bicon. Said of Sid Vicious, he was everything that's cool about punk rock. A skinny rocker who had a ton of attitude, sort of an Elvis James Dean kind of guy. Skinny rocker, you fat phobic cunt. Rawr. You can be fat and punk. It's totally punk to be fat. I mean, you know, John Lydon nowadays, you know, shout out to him. Pretty fat. Just saying. In 2006, the Sex Pistols were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The surviving members declined to attend the ceremony. You know, like a fucking high school punk declining to attend prom. It's mandatory, you know, you gotta not show up because it's cringe. It's for squares. Anne Beverly had taken, I forgot to say legacy, I think. Legacy, yeah. Anne Beverly had taken possession of Sid's bass guitar, a white Fender Precision bass with a black pickguard and a leather strap with the name Sid etched into it. Cool. It sounds cool. Shortly before her death, she sold it to Steve Jones for $2,000, or £2,000, sorry. Stephen Severin of Susie and the Banshees remembered Vicious in positive terms, saying, before he got deeply into drugs, he was one of the funniest guys. He did seem funny in a kind of stupid way, you know? A little goofy kind of guy. And I've seen some of his drawings before. They're kind of funny, too. Cartoonish and silly. He would, like, exaggerate people's features and stuff. He had a brilliant sense of humor, goofy, sweet, and very cute. Ha, gay. A little gay. A little sus. LOL. Lol. Laugh out loud. In 2009, Lydon told The Independent, "I'm sorry, God, for the day I brought Sid into the band. He felt so isolated, poor old Sid, because he wasn't the sharpest knife in the block." Kind of rude. The best aspect of his character, which was his humor, just vanished the day he joined the Pistols. That sucks, man. Doesn't seem like it, though, when you see interviews of him. When you hear interviews of him. Like, he kind of was still a bit of a silly, stupid guy. You know, I say stupid in a kind of loving way. I mean, because I think that one's intelligence is a abstract concept and kind of bullshit. And, like, I don't think that being smart, quote-unquote smart, can really dictate your value as a person, you know? It doesn't mean that you're good or bad or anything like that. I mean, willful ignorance is one thing, but, you know, whatever. On the 20th of January 2009, a 30-minute documentary about Sid Vicious titled In Search of Sid, and recorded 30 years after his death by musician and long-term friend of Sid Vicious, Jaw Wobble. Yeah, okay, I got confused about the sentence structure. Was aired on the BBC Radio 4. As present day, as of 2022, Sid Vicious themed souvenirs are widely available for purchase. I kind of want a Sid Vicious t-shirt. I really like how he looks. He's cute, sorry. I'm sorry, but he's cute, and so is Johnny Rotten. And anything possibly having belonged to him fetches high prices. Yes, sir. In 2011, a suit of Vicious's sold at auction by Christie's for GBT 11,000 GBT. GBT is Great British Pounds, right? Let's look that up. Clicky. Take me to church, I'll worship like a dog at the shrine of your lies. I'll tell you my sins and you can sharpen your knife. Offer me that death, good God, let me give you my life. What GBT means? What GBT means? The British pound sterling. What? GBT stands for British pound sterling. Well, shouldn't it be BPS? The fuck? Stupid. Take me to church! I'll worship like a dog at the shrine of your lives! I'll tell you my sins and you can sharpen your knife! Offer me that deathless death, the good God, let me give you my life! Yeah. Any recording with Vicious in it has been repeatedly released. His singles My Way and It's Shit were released by the American label Cleopatra Records in 2021. Also in 2021, Cleopatra's sublabel Anarchy Records released the album Love Kills. I'm almost done! Music tribute. Sorry guys, I'm getting yelled at by my mom. Numerous bands have recorded songs about Sid Vicious. In 1979, the band Helpless Hue, I guess, released the 4-track recording Sid Vicious Was Innocent. I don't know about that. In 1982, The Exploited included the song Sid Vicious Was Innocent on their album Troops of Tomorrow. Former frontman for The Clash, Joe Strummer, recorded Love Kills and Dum Dum Club for the Sid and Nancy soundtrack. In 1986, the Ramones released Love Kills on their album Animal Boy, which was a tribute to both Sid and Nancy. Fun fact, the Ramones once pissed in the Sex Pistols beer as a prank. I forget where I heard that, but that's kind of funny but also shitty. You know, punks are such lunatics, man. Not all of them, but a great deal of them. A bunch of fuckers. I'm one of the good ones. In 1994, NOFX released... Is that pronounced no fucks? It'd be funny if it was pronounced no fucks, NOFX. Released Punk Guy on their album Punkin' Drublick. I love that! Spoonerism! Is Drublick a word? Because if it was, then that would be a perfect spoonerism. Oh wait. I spelt it wrong. To beat severely, to berate critically, to defeat decisively. Okay. Wait, that's drub definition. Drublick isn't a word, so it's not a perfect spoonerism, but it's still funny and cute. Which, yeah, if you guys don't know, my name, Silas Casket Base, the casket base is a spoonerism for basket case, if that's not obvious, and it's kind of a reference to the song Basket Case by Green Day. Anyway, which makes references to a number of famous punk rock musicians. The line, exudes a vicious disposition, is a Sid Vicious reference. In 2017, Foster the People, I kind of like them, pumped up kicks and all that, released Loyal Like Sid and Nancy, which references Vicious and Spongin's relationship as the second single from their album Sacred Hearts Club. In 2015, Medusa released a music video to their song Sid and Nancy, which portrays the two as children. I had a dream about hanging out with Johnny Rotten and Sid Vicious as children one time. I guess I didn't tell you guys that. I feel like I did, but I don't think I did. Anyway, never mind. In 2017, industrial metal band Powerman 5000 released a single called Sid Vicious in a Dress. Hot. Fucking sexy. I've had fantasies about that before. I'm not gonna lie. Sid Vicious in a dress. Imagine him being all like bashful and shit, and you make fun of him a little bit, and he's like, "Hey, stop that! Cut it out! Cut it out! Be nice to me. Be nice." I can't do a good accent. I'm so sorry. I can't do a good Cockney accent without sounding stupid. Which is about a female punk rocker who exhibits similar chaos and violent nature of the former Sex Pistols bassist. In 2018, singer-songwriter Phoebe Bridgers recorded a track titled Chelsea, included on her album Stranger in the Alps. The track was originally a poem about Vicious and Spongin's relationship in their final 2 months of life. Bridgers was so enthralled with the story, she turned it into a song. In his 2022 album Mainstream Sellout, artist Machine Gun Kelly released a track titled Sid and Nancy about a couple who was deeply in love but shared some dark ideas. The song ends with the sound of 2 consecutive gunshots. Portrayals. Music tributes. Legacy, present day, music tributes, portrayals. Okay, just want to say them. I don't know, because I can't remember if I said them or not. I have terrible memory. The critically acclaimed 1986 film Sid and Nancy, directed by Alex Cox, portrays Sid's life from his joining the Sex Pistols to the end of his life. It stars Gary Oldman as Sid Vicious and Chloe Webb as Nancy Spungen. I think both of them are ugly. My mom thinks that Gary Oldman is hot, but I think he's ugly, and I think Chloe Webb is ugly. Sorry. Maybe I'm mean and evil. Probably so. Oldman's performance was praised by Uncut as a hugely sympathetic reading of the punk figurehead as a lost and bewildered man-child. Yeah, it's about as sympathetic as you could portray little Sid. Though Oldman detested the film and punk music in general. Wow, asshole. In 1993, Ade Edmondson played Vicious in the comic strip presents Demonella. In the film, which was directed by Paul Bartle, Vicious resides in hell with Oscar Wilde, Adolf Hitler, Genghis Khan, and Marie Antoinette. Oscar Wilde better have gone to hell for molesting children and not just being gay or bisexual or whatever. Was he gay or bisexual? I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell, but my dad says that he molested children, so that better be what he went to hell for and not just being queer, for fuck's sake, If you're gonna put him in hell for the right reasons. The Foo Fighters' 1997 video Everlong is about Sid and Nancy, with Sid defending Nancy against party demons. Ha, that's a cool concept, party demons. Good band name, maybe. Good band name, perhaps. Or maybe stupid band name, I don't know, maybe I'm stupid. Dave Grohl and Taylor Hawkins played Sid and Nancy, respectively. Love Springfieldian style of the Valentine's Day episode of The Simpsons 2008 season spoofs Sid and Nancy's relationship. In September 2009, Roy Smiles and play Kurt and Sid. The Roy Smiles play Kurt and Sid debuted at the Trafalgar Studios Funny name, Trafalgar. In London's West End, the play, set in Kurt Cobain's greenhouse on the day of his suicide, revolves around the ghost of Sid Vicious visiting Cobain to try and convince him not to kill himself. That's kind of beautiful. It's a little bit goofy, but kind of beautiful at the same time. Vicious was played by Danny Dyer. It kind of sounds like something someone would make a fan fiction about. But it's a fan fiction I would read, you know? People love fan fictions about ghosts of rock stars, you know? I'm seriously almost done! I'm really serious! Just let me finish this. Fuck's sake, you guys. In January 2021, FX announced that a series about the Sex Pistols called Pistol had gone into production, with Vicious to be portrayed by Louis Partridge. It is based on the Steve Jones's memoir Lonely Boy and is directed by Danny Boyle. Lydon called the series the most disrespectful shit I've ever had to endure, and unsuccessfully sued to block the use of the Sex Pistols' music in the series. Gee whiz. Okay. Now, let's just watch that documentary and get this shit over with. Sid Vicious... Or not documentary, interview. Interview. It's a very specific one I want to show you guys. Hopefully this won't get me copyright struck. Yeah, here we go. Sid Vicious's final interview. It's only 1 minute and 9 seconds. I'll die before I'm 25, and when I do, I'll have lived the way I wanted to. Sid Vicious.
Yeah. And what do you think made it happen? It was meant to happen. Nancy always said she'd die before she was 21. What would you like to happen now over the next, say, year or two? I'd like to have fun. What sort of fun? Any kind of fun, just fun.
He's just
That's
a
my
kid.
object in life.
He's just like a kid, you know?
Are you having fun at the moment? Are you kidding? No, I'm not having fun at all. Where would you like to be?
Under the ground.
Under the ground. Are you serious?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What an asshole, that interviewer. Are you having any fun right now? Alright, that's the end of the video. Bye-bye.